So we're back for week 2 of this program that we're doing with Mark Howard. And this time we are talking about, this was the topic I came up with because I know all of you watching asked me this question. I know this is a question on your mind. So if it's so simple, Mark, when we talked about it last week, you made it sound so simple that if it's so simple, why aren't we all Zen? Why isn't peace, happiness, and wisdom our experience 99% of the time, and then the crap days just be 1% of the time? Why aren't we all Zen? If it's so simple, why isn't it easy?
Well, again, wonderful questions. Again, in my practice of 40 years with this understanding to people with anxiety and depression and more severe disorders, and with my own emotional reactions, I've always asked that question. Well, again, the simple answer, I think I mentioned it in our first video, is you can't get away from being in the human condition. So no matter how much you see about the well-being we talked about or the contentment of mental health that we talked about, you're still in the human condition. And in the human condition, what I mean by that is as soon as you're born, you begin to come into the consciousness of the community around you, the family you're in, the friends you're in. And so you're given ways of thinking about life, how to use this power of thought. You're taught how to do that. And you, of course, make up your own ways of thinking. So there's a lot of conditioning of thinking that we grow up making in our lives, and that's a fact. And so really the simple answer is the reason we don't stay in Zen is because we do a lot of our own thinking about life, Now, again, even if you found that beautiful feeling of contentment, you still have to come back into life, right? And live your life. Because if you really do find that beautiful piece of happiness, you still have to learn how to live with it. How to live with it, for example, with your distressing thoughts. How do oh man, I found some moments now where I really do feel love or contentment. I'm starting to feel well-being, but I still get caught up in my fears and worries. And you have to learn how to bring in what has awakened in you into your daily ways of living, your human condition. I think you also have to begin to see that you're not going to get rid of your habits of thought completely. You're not going to get rid of insecurity. This understanding is not about getting rid of. This understanding is really about you beginning to live more with your own realizations of your true nature, your own use of the wisdom that you were born in to handle relationships and other issues in your life. And as you live more for that understanding, you do move where 80% of your life is there, and now you're visiting your troubling, emotions or states of mind 20% of the time, rather than the opposite happening. So one way to really look at this is not to get this in order to reduce what you're going through. It's to get this to make room for your mental health, for your contentment, happiness, and well-being. Begin to wake up knowing that place in you so that you can, when you're caught up, you can bring yourself back to it. That's what I do. I now have had experiences of what that feeling is like to live in contentment or love and understanding, right? So when I do get caught up, it occurs to me, see, it's not even a strategy, but being that I have lived in that feeling of well-being, it occurs to me at some point, oh, you're caught up again. And I bring myself back to that. is not quite a strategy, because the minute you wake up to, oh my God, there I go again, I'm just caught up in that habit of thinking. Once you see it to that level, you'll get a thought that tells you bring it back. So it's very important to see that this isn't about reducing. You don't want to measure how you're doing. You just want to open up to what you truly are. You truly are love and understanding. And the reason you don't live there 24/7 is because you start thinking again, and you can't help it. That's the human condition. But to know that is our saving grace. Because to know, oh my God, there I just got caught up again. That's me. I'm just human like everyone else. That's a different way than to get panicked about losing sight of well-being.
That you really taught me that with a real example. When we first met, I don't know if you remember this, but when we first met, we went up and had that really posh penthouse breakfast in Santa Monica, and there was you and Kathy Casey and John and I and Mike O'Neill, and we were having a lovely breakfast, and you and Kathy were joking about, or mainly it was Kathy, because it was kind of at your expense a little bit, like talking about you're traveling to get to Santa Monica, and that you were not, like, either not organized or not like not 100% happy on the planes or something, where you were quite caught up in thought about the traveling, and Kathy had basically looked after you and got you where you needed to go. And it was so freeing to see that someone who evidently, from having breakfast with you, lived in this beautiful feeling, could still totally get caught up and totally be okay with it. There was no trying to hide it. There was no trying to fix it. There was no, you were so comfortable with the fact that you had got caught up. I mean, you and Kathy were laughing about it, but it was, we don't, when we come through a traditional route, we feel like, well, our counselor or our therapist or some of the person who's helping us never gets stressed out. They give this image of being like Superman, right? Like, no, I'm totally Zen all the time. So we feel like when we get caught up in insecurity, we feel like we're doing it wrong. Yeah. You showed me by being that living, breathing example of someone who was totally comfortable with their insecurity in that moment, that there was nothing here to fix.
Well, again, to talk with people in the audience that are suffering from anxiety, that was a journey of understanding. Yeah. That one example of me was a journey of understanding. And I'm glad you brought that up, because what I mean by a journey of understanding is that being able to live with the fact that when I travel, I've been traveling now 10 years internationally, because I've been having the great fortune to people that ask me to come and speak. I do get anxious a couple of days before. I get nervous, and it was just continuing to live with the understanding as best I could. Like, I don't like it, I don't like feeling that way. I wish I could just, I don't know, people are really, there's some people that don't pack until, like, the late evening before, right? So, but this journey of understanding that I'm sharing with you, continuing to deepen my understanding that is just thought, that's all that's going on, and that I have within me wisdom, love, happiness, peace of mind. Help me get it to a place, have it become it. It wasn't me doing it. It was just I was seeing it more and more, that I could just kind of live with it. I can say, that's me. That's the best I can do with this right now. And really, it became, rather than kind of a more ongoing experience through a day, it became periodic. And it really didn't matter. I could live with it. I just live that way, So if I needed to make sure I got all of my medicines in order, 2 days before, I did it,
Yeah.
And but I want to tell you one experience that really, I don't know, was profound for me. Again, I'm still this kind of nervous Nelly, I'm in the boarding area for a flight to the UK, and I'm not overwhelmed again with the feeling. I just have it kind of residual. And they announced that the plane was delayed for like 2 hours, and and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I realized I was just calm. I was just calm. I had no nervousness, and so I thought, well, go get a magazine, go get a coffee. And it stayed with me through the whole flight. And it was probably the worst flight you could ever have. It went through thunderstorms. There could have been a delay of arrival. And it was just with me. Now, here's the key to this. That's in you. That showed up. It surprised me. I didn't think, Mark, you're nervous. Do your exercise and get calm. I'm just sitting there, get the announcement. I'm reading my magazine. All of a sudden I realized, Mark, you've been calm. It's gone. And it actually, that state of mind, that consciousness, I reached it.
Mm.
And it stayed with me, and it woke me up to, again, what we have available to ourselves, what's there. And it again taught me to just live with what I am and take care of myself if I'm really in an extreme reaction, but then try to come back to the feeling as best as I could and just live with what residue I have of my nervousness.
Yeah.
Now, that I don't live there. With future flights, I still have that kind of nervousness, but it's less now.
Mm.
And I'm not measuring it, right? I'm just sharing with you. And I know that that space is there that presented itself. Isn't that amazing that we've got something that we're a part of that can bring us beyond what we're caught up in, that it's within us? I mean, I think for me, I love that. And I just live my life with an eye toward it, with the hope to see more about that, have more of that arrive as I go through my life. That's how I live. I don't live to try to reduce my experiences. I live to open up more and see it more as it's presented to me. Now, mind you, I listen to Sydney Banks and I read Sydney Banks, and that helps me a great deal. That's all I do. Okay. Aside from that, now, if I'm preparing for flight, it's easier. Although I still, get that little wave of nervousness, it's still easier.
Yeah.
So I hope that spoke to what you mentioned.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like there's some and I hope what people are hearing, what I'm hearing when you're speaking, is that it's okay to be nervous and anxious. Like you live with it best you can, and you continue to look in this direction. And for me, what I've seen is any of those behaviors or any of those thought storms that we have, or any of that stuff that we have a problem with, right, in ourselves, once we're looking in this direction, it's already on its way out, guaranteed. It's like our behaviors become more healthy and our minds become freer as we continue to look in this direction. So if there are parts of your experience that you don't like you're terrified of supermarkets, I was, or you're really worried about travel, if you've been in this conversation, you've probably already noticed that that's shifted and changed already. But that just continues, so you don't need to worry about it. It's being taken care of for you. by this healing energy that when every time we touch this space, every time we look in this direction, it's like it rubs a little bit more of it out for you, so you don't have to do it. Now, for me, that was amazing to see, because it stopped me having to look at the thing and analyze the thing and think about the thing and try and fix the thing and try and find the peace of mind and think about the peace of mind so that this thing would be gone. I've been in this conversation long enough to see that's just the way of it, in my experience, that you don't need to worry about that. It's already on its way out, nothing you need to do. In the meantime, you just deal with it the most gracefully you can. You know, like there's something in that for me that just takes all the pressure off.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. That it takes the pressure off, that there's something to keep doing rather than just be graceful when you're at a lower level of consciousness. Just have the courage to see that's all that happened. Your level of understanding dropped, your level of consciousness dropped, got caught up in your habitual thoughts. Yeah, you know, it's really about what you're sharing with me is that beautiful feeling of not thinking so seriously about ourselves.
Yeah.
That's really the key, you know, is if you could just notice, oh my God, I'm thinking so seriously about me, and quiet that down, that feeling will come.
But that's it, Mark. I think we don't understand because of our conditioning.
Yes.
If you want to solve a problem, think about it more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so therefore, if I'm a problem, if my emotions and my feelings and my thinking and my experience of life is a problem, then if I don't think about it, how does it get fixed? So just tell me how to think about it more productively. It's like we go around for years and are like, how do I think about it differently? What do I need to do? How do I think about it? What do I think about it? What do I do with it? But the question is all about, how do I think about myself more? Because that's what, innocently, we don't know any different. But what you're suggesting here, or what we're looking at, is you don't need to. It's such an alien concept for people, though, isn't it? It's such an alien concept. What do you mean I don't have to think about me?
Well, it's just a misunderstanding that people weren't aware that. Ooh, I'm so sorry. I should have forgot. People aren't aware that there's another way to go about our life issues, and thinking about it really creates more of it for ourselves. It gets us more serious, and that if we just quiet our minds, we would know how to think about it in a way that really moves us to a resolution. You know, it really wakes up wisdom. And people don't realize they have wisdom. They already have within themselves an intelligence that will guide them to happiness and well-being, and how to take care of their lives, how to think about it in a way that moves them to better feelings, really. And we just have lost sight of that somewhere in our evolution, and we've really honored the intellect a lot more, you know. How can people go from coming to see me and ready to end their relationship and have 20 issues that need to be fixed, and find the feeling of love and understanding for each other, find an understanding that the way they're thinking about each other is what's causing them to feel badly? Wake up to that. And 15 of those 20 things no longer matter. They just disappear. They go by the wayside, because the couple's living in another level of understanding, of wisdom and love. And once you find that again, which is in you right now, were it not for our thinking, it takes care of a lot of what you think you need to think about in order to fix it. So you have a wisdom that fixes life for you easily.
So just knowing what my clients would say at this point, right, is, so on several occasions you've said, you know, like, so you can just quiet down, so you don't have to keep thinking. Like I've said, you don't have to keep thinking about yourself. You could just Just quiet your mind, just come back to that space. And I know that there'll be some really frustrated people shouting at the screen going, yeah, but how? It's not that easy. My thoughts are relentless. My mind is just, I'm thinking all the time. If I could just find a quiet mind, I would, Mark. Like, you make it sound so simple, but it's not. How do I stop it? I can't bear it anymore. But how do I? And I totally understand that I need to find a quiet mind. That's why I'm here. How do I do it? What words of hope would you offer to people that are feeling that way right now?
This is just based on my assuming it. When people share that with me, I kind of go on a discovery with them about them, my getting to know what that means for them. Is that 24/7? Do they have any breaks in that? Are they able to cook meals? Are they able to shower? I mean, are there any moments? So I'm just assuming on this.
You're right. It's already happening. It's just unrecognized.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people overlook moments that might be, nanoseconds to, a few seconds where they've got some freedom from that. So
Yeah.
when I explored that with someone recently, again, that I'm coaching, and I said, look, is there some time when you are away from any of that thinking? She said, yeah, and that surprised me. And I said, what? Well, when? She goes, well, when I'm practicing the trumpet. So when she's practicing the trumpet, she's just away from all that thinking. So I said, well, we have to talk about how you bring that into your life, you see? So that's how I work with people. Another time, I was with this woman who was saying, she's never happy, never, always in depressing thoughts, thinking she's worthless, nobody likes her. So I got frustrated one day and I said, Mabel, is there any time you're ever free of that? She said, yeah, there is. And I got, again, surprised. I said, well, when is that? She says, when I wake up. I said, when you wake up, you are happy? She said, yeah. I said, well, what happens to that? She says, well, before my feet hit the slippers, I think I'm depressed. Do you get it? She thinks her way out of it innocently, not knowing that that's why she can't continue to be happy. So I'm just bringing those stories to say there have been people I've spoken with that have moments where they're free of that.
Yeah.
Now, if the minute you're in it and you're working to quiet it, you're already in it.
Yeah.
See, you're already, from my understanding, and me too, I'm not saying I'm any different, fooling yourself to thinking you can't get out of it. Now, I want you to do your best. So whatever you've learned that brings some way that you quiet down, some way, I want you to keep doing that. But I want you to also get that the more you keep thinking about it, the more you're going to be trapped in it. I don't know, you could practice ways to just be quiet. Meditation is a way people get quiet. But I'll tell you what, if you keep looking, if something we've talked about or your program with Nicola helps you just get some flavor of what's possible, stay with that. Stay with what any hope you have found and keep looking to that. Stay more reflective rather than forceful. So one way to do that, see, you're part of an intelligence that's created the universe, that's within every living being. Every living thing has an intelligence to it. And so if you have your body and your cells have an intelligence to it, so does your mind. So what you want to do is hear more from that rather than what you're making up about things. Okay. So one way that's helped me if I don't know an answer is I just try to stay reflective. I just try to say, help me see this. I still getting so caught up in all of my anxious thoughts. Help me see what I've been hearing in this program and leave it alone.
Yeah.
That's it. Leave it alone. Go about your day. Come back maybe later on and come back and get reflective and say, I really want to see more about how I can awaken less thinking about myself, and go about your day. But the more we get focused on what we're doing, it's harder to hear from that wisdom. So that's what I do. I get reflective. Whenever I'm called on to do a presentation, I'm reflected all the way up until the early morning of my talk. And I'm just asking this intelligence to help me see a way to present to this group, how to live with my wife, how to get over this issue, including the one I talked to you about, nervousness about flying. So that's what I would recommend for people.
And to see that it's already in operation, because that intelligence behind the universe is the reason that you are watching right now this video on this moment, on this day, because you knew to be here. That's the intelligence that operates us without us even having to think and be aware of it. It's always running the show because we're part of it. It's like the very fact that you're here, the people watching, the very fact that you're here watching now, that you chose this day at this moment is no accident. I know that people have hope and they're looking in this direction. They wouldn't be here otherwise. And so they knew to, if you're watching this, it's because you knew to watch it. And if you're not, you'll never know I said this, but it's because you knew not to watch it. Something else will be more helpful. I just think that's awesome when you sit and notice that it's already in operation. You don't have to get it. There isn't like some magic box you tick and then wisdom starts running the show. It's already doing it. And sometimes seeing that it's already here, that happiness is already here, that you don't have to wait, that mental health and well-being is already here, and so is wisdom, just destroys the idea that, maybe one day it'll be there for me. I just think that's so beautiful.
I think that is beautiful, and I think it's really speaking to the essence of this understanding. We were at a seminar with Cindy Banks, and he just said, that it's your fate that you're here. And it's just what you're saying. It's just that you're just so blessed. You just have to, if you just get into the feeling that you're blessed to be here.
Yeah.
And we don't know why we showed up or connected with each other, but we are blessed to be here. If you just get there, you're already awakened to it. Mm-hmm. And it's already there guiding you. It's not like you said, I've got to wait until I get this a certain degree. You already are.
Yeah.
The wisdom and happiness you're looking for, it's already there. And if we could quiet our thinking just that much, it will fill us just that much.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Great to be here.
Yeah. And I can't wait to be back with you again next week. So
yes, me too.
Thank you.